Hello and welcome to another edition of Personal Health and Fitness. I'm your host, Chad Marshak. My program today is called Athletic Core Training, and training your core is really important for athletes because everything goes through your midsection and you express it out through your extremities, your upper body and your lower body. So it's really important to do the right types of exercises. And a lot of these exercises we're going to demonstrate today are very explosive in nature and incorporate your entire body. We're going to feature 10 exercises today. Now the first exercise we're going to demonstrate is the only exercise where your feet aren't technically on the ground and you're in an upright position, but the rest of them are. Jesse Vez is joining me today. He's going to help me out. Jesse, appreciate you showing up today and venturing out into advanced core training today, okay?
Yep,
excuse me. We're going to start off with out and overs. This is the first exercise that we're going to demonstrate. Now this is the only ground-based exercise we're going to demonstrate today. And what Jesse's going to do, he's going to bring his leg underneath and swing it over. And it's really hip dominant. So if you're an athlete, as far as warm-ups are concerned, this is a really good warm-up exercise that you can begin your core training with. And I'm going to have him change kind of positions here in just a second so you can kind of get a different angle. So it looks like he's a contortionist, but it's actually very hip dominant. His trunk rotators are having to work really hard. His shoulder stabilizers here are having to work really hard as well. So now he's going to switch positions. Jesse, how many of these would somebody want to start with?
Often I'll have them do about 6 to each side, just for a good quick warm-up, or maybe I'll have them do them for a set period of time if 6 to each side doesn't work. About a minute usually. Yep.
Okay, great. So like he said, he's going to do, say, 6 repetitions to each side. And some people that don't have really good mobility in their lower back and their hip rotators, this may be a little bit difficult to do, but in time, hopefully you'll be able to increase your range of motion. Jesse's got really good mobility, good flexibility, good strength through his core. But work within your range of motion and gradually you'll be able to increase it. All right, the next exercise we're going to do are called medicine ball rainbows. And the medicine ball rainbows, it's kind of it's a powerful movement where if you could envision a rainbow, what it looks like, the shape, that's the movement of your upper body essentially. And you're going to literally slam the medicine ball into the ground in a rainbow arc. So it's an arc movement. And again, Jesse's going to change positions here in just a moment. So for throwing athletes like pitchers, racket sports, whether you're a tennis player or a racquetball player, you may have to make really powerful overhand type movements, and this helps train your trunk in that particular plane. One thing you want to keep in mind when you do this exercise is that if you have a medicine ball, this is like a 3-kilogram ball, which is like 6.6 pounds. So if you take a ball that bounces too high, it's hard to catch. So you want to make sure that if you are going to try this exercise, use a medicine ball that doesn't bounce too high. And there are various medicine balls out there that some bounce really high, some they deaden when they hit the ground, and some, this is kind of a middle of the range ball that you've got to really generate some power to get it back up to your hands. Okay? What do you feel when you do that, Jesse?
You definitely feel it through your core, but at the same time, it's a good workout. You get a good explosive, you get some cardio workout in there. Your aerobics, your breathing starts getting a little bit heavier, and it's a good overall workout.
A lot of the exercises we're featuring today are what I would call violent in nature and really explosive. Athletics typically require a lot of violent movements. We're very explosive, very powerful in nature. And I think a lot of people miss the boat, especially a lot of coaches miss the boat when training their athletes. They have them do a lot of slow, methodical exercises. Doesn't really transfer to the playing field.
No, it doesn't. And I mean, one of the things is I understand that a lot of people are worried about injuries, so they want to be slow, they want to be under control, but the truth is that whenever these athletes are then out on the playing field, everything that they're going to do is going to be explosive and it's going to be violent. So you have to train yourself to be explosive and to be violent. If you just train in a slow, methodical way, you're not getting everything out of it that you could.
I agree. Okay. The next exercise we're going to demonstrate are called tubing power pulls. And I'm going to grab some tubing here. And for this particular exercise, I'm going to actually demonstrate it, all right? And Jesse's going to stand on the end of the tubing on the ground. That's cool. You want to hold the mic?
Sure.
I think I could maybe do it.
All right, let's do it.
So what you're going to do, ideally you need a partner for this, somebody that's going to stand on the end of a tubing. Now tubing comes in all different tensions, all right? So depending on your level of fitness, you're going to have to select the right type of tubing. You want to make sure that when you rotate, and you'll see what I mean here in just a minute, that you're able to extend your spine and kind of reach out, all right? And this is a rotational movement where I'm going to be turning to my right and to my left and also bringing my hands overhead. In sport, oftentimes you have to, say, reach up to grab a rebound, or in tennis, you're reaching back with your arms or maybe rotating. So this is a really good rotational exercise for your core. It's almost like I'm trying to throw it. It's almost like I'm trying to throw an object violently either to my right or to my left. So I'll do a series of, say, 10 movements to my right, 10 movements to my left, and then I'll do a series of 10 movements overhead. And if you look at my feet, it's important that you want to release your hips. So if I'm throwing my left hip, if I'm exploding to my right, my left hip, my foot has to pivot and rotate. I'm just going to allow my hips to work a little bit more efficiently, all right? Now, if I'm having to explosively move backwards, say jump up and catch a ball, somebody's throwing me a ball, or if I'm a volleyball player and I have to reach up and spike a ball, this next movement where I'm taking my hands up over my head is going to help really train my abdominal muscles to lengthen effectively, which is really important. Everybody's concerned when they train their abs to try to shorten, bringing their shoulders down towards their pelvis. I'm more concerned with athletes doing the opposite, where they go backwards, where they're lengthening their abdominals, their shoulders are actually moving backwards away from the front of their pelvis, okay? So your back extensions have to work a little harder and your abdominals are lengthening instead of shortening. And this is what it looks like. So you're going to get down into a kind of a pseudo squat position and you're going to explosively lift your arms over your head, like so. So I'm coming down here, my abs are shortening, and then when I explosively go back, the resistance, I have to bring my arms up and back, so I'm getting a nice eccentric or lengthening load here in my abdominals. But my hip extensors are really working hard, glutes, hamstrings, lumbar region, everything's firing. We rarely talk about, when we do this show, reps, sets, because everybody's different as far as where they are in their level of fitness. And so for training purposes, or actually for demonstrative purposes, that's all we're doing today, is just kind of showing you, giving you some ideas of what you could do, all right? So the next exercise we're going to demonstrate is an Olympic bar rotation. Olympic weight bars are 7 feet long and they weigh 45 pounds. So this may be not appropriate for a lot of younger athletes. You could also do this exercise with, say, something like a body bar. This is 15 pounds. We have a 24 pound body bar, but these body bars they actually come in different weights, and I think they maybe start out at around 10, 11, 12 pounds and all the way up to 50. But we like to use an Olympic weight bar for this next exercise. Typically, ideally you want to put this bar in a corner, all right, corner of a room, all right, so the base of it can't move. However, because we don't have a corner that we can access right here shooting this program today, we're going to use just the base of a wall, okay? So what Jesse's going to do, if you're really strong, you can actually load up the end of the bar. You could actually put, say, a 25-pound plate or a 10-pound plate or whatever you wanted to add more resistance. But Jesse's just going to use the bar today. Also, depending on where you grab the bar, if you grab the bar lower versus higher, it's going to change the forces. Jesse, you're our physics expert. Explain that to me.
Well, the difference is basically if you put it up, if you put your hands down lower, there's going to be more weight on the end. It's going to make the lever longer. So if the lever's longer, there's going to be more weight coming down as you come down. If you bring your hands up higher, you're basically shortening the lever. So whenever you come down, there's going to be less force that's coming down. So the closer you get to the middle of the bar, the more force is going to be generated as the bar comes down.
Okay. I could have said all that. All right, so Jesse's going to rotate now to the right and then to his left. And if you look, well, that's great. We just hit the lat pull-down bar. Go ahead, Jesse. And you can see how he's powerfully rotating, and his hips are really cooking now. But what's cool about this is, what I really like about it, as you lower the bar down towards your hip, you have to decelerate that momentum, okay, of the bar, and then change directions and accelerate. And just like in sport and athletics, changing directions occur all the time. You constantly are changing directions, whether you're a football player, baseball player, basketball player, volleyball player, tennis player. I can go on and on, okay?
Well, and I really love how anytime you have to really pivot that hip and come in there, for any sport, that's working on your cutting mechanics and your ability to change directions. Anytime you go to make a cut in a sport, those are the exact same movements that you're going to be making. So it really applies to just about any sport that you can think of.
Right, and the program that we've put together today, all these exercises that we're featuring are for athletes, okay? It doesn't matter what you do because it requires all of these skills that we're teaching you today. You need to be able to move efficiently in all directions. I don't care what sport you're playing. Okay, next exercise we're going to talk about is diagonal medicine ball slams, and I'm going to demonstrate this one. Again, I talked about racket sports. I talked about baseball, where you have to throw football. If you're a quarterback and you have to throw the ball, requires diagonal rotational patterns. All sports really do, but this is a little bit more specific to those particular sports I just mentioned. So Jesse, why don't you go ahead and hold this. I'm going to hop over there. Okay. Ideally you want to do this with a partner. If you don't have a partner, you can do this in a partner pattern where you set up diagonally across from one another. But Jesse's just going to roll the ball back to me.
You can see as he's doing this, he's getting a lot of extension and then coming down hard and just slamming it down to me. Using a lot of force, big diagonal pattern. Really extends his abs as he comes up and slams it down with a lot of force.
You could also set that up if you have, say, 3 guys, 2 in front, 1 at the top, where you're quickly going side to side, say on your knees where you're coming in a diagonal pattern. There are a lot of different tweaks that you could do with that particular exercise, but again, you're coming down hard in a diagonal pattern, and that's the key, all right? The next exercise we're going to talk about is lateral medicine ball power jumps. And I don't like to do this because I can't jump like Jesse. So what he's going to do, he's going to take the medicine ball, and he's got one with handles, which makes this one a little bit easier. You can do this continuously in one direction, but because we don't have a lot of room, he's just going to go side to side. And what he's going to do, he's going to drop the medicine ball down between his legs, and then explosively jump as high as you can while simultaneously lifting the ball above his head. So if you have to jump in a sport and say grab a rebound, or if you're going up to catch a pass, whether it be typically football, but also in baseball, if you have to jump and snag a line drive, this is applicable to those particular sports. You look like a jumping bean. So again, you want to powerfully, let's go ahead and go sideways now a little bit towards the camera. And you're powerfully, maybe come forward a little bit. That's cool. Okay, so he's going to drop the ball down between his legs and lift the ball explosively, quickly, violently above his head. And you can see he's not doing this in a slow, methodical pattern. He's getting after it, all right? He's really explosively performing this particular movement.
The real key when you're doing it is try and think about the moment you land, you want to get back up as quick as you can. It's really you want to spend as little time on the ground as possible whenever you're doing it. Really work on explosiveness and getting up quickly.
That's a good point. And again, a lot of people think that you've got to be on your back to train your abs. And I rarely put anybody on their back, regardless if they're an athlete or not, to train their abdominals, because that's not how we function. You know, unless we're sleeping and rolling around in bed, that's the only time you're on your back typically. All right? So the next exercise we're going to talk about, medicine ball pop-ups. This is a fun drill. You want to talk about the application of this particular exercise?
Well, this one is a great one for explosiveness, and this is also one of the best drills you can do, especially for catchers in baseball, because this is almost the exact motion, but also for any baseball players. Trying to feel the ground ball and pop up. If you're, even in football, if you're a quarterback who's got to come out of the snap and immediately pop up and be ready, this is really going to work on the dynamics of doing that.
Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a medicine ball, and again, depending on your abilities is going to dictate how heavy of a medicine ball you're going to use. You know, a lot of young athletes, say 10, 11, 12 years old, they really don't need anything more than 1 to 2 pounds. This is a 6.5 pound medicine ball though. So Jesse's going to get down into a squat position, kind of a ready athletic position, and he's going to explosively rotate his legs, catch the ball, and like get up in a firing pattern. You can either do this in an alternating fashion, go right to left, left to right, or you can just do, say, 10 to your right, 10 to your left. All right? Really good, though, for hips.
It's wonderful for hips. You really feel it burning your quads, and also your entire core, just the momentum of the ball going back and you having to decelerate really quickly and bring it back is wonderful for, it's really a great total body exercise and definitely gets your cardio up.
Definitely get your cardio up. And a lot of these exercises, again, are so demanding. Your nervous system's really firing, but you're burning a lot more calories by doing them in a more explosive fashion. You know, people get caught up with, I need to do, you know, hundreds of exercises for your core. We rarely, when we're training people here at Body Symmetry, rarely have people do more than, say, you know, anywhere between 8 and 12 reps for a lot of these explosive patterns that we're demonstrating, because people can't do it. Their form starts to break down. So once your form goes, the exercise goes out the window and you're opening yourself up for injury, all right? Don't sacrifice your form just to do more. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Stop the exercise, reduce the load. That's simple. Slow it down slightly if you have to. Okay, we've got, let's see, those were the pop-ups. Now we're going to do some kettlebell rotations. We have a kettlebell. We love these kettlebells, but we're going to do a show on kettlebell training probably in the coming months. But if you don't have access to a kettlebell, you can use a dumbbell. Let's talk about the difference between a kettlebell and a dumbbell real quick, Jesse.
Well, basically the difference is just the weight distribution. And you can see, let's even grab the same weight. Here, you've got a dumbbell and a kettlebell, and these both weigh exactly the same amount. They're both 15 pounds, but the real difference is just whenever you grab a dumbbell, your hand is right in the middle of the weight. It's equally supported on both sides. versus a kettlebell where you grab a handle that's actually above the weight. So the weight is all dragging you straight down. So it feels a lot different, and just different motions can be more difficult. I can curl a 15-pound dumbbell right here, but you can try and do it with a kettlebell, and you can extend your arm. So you're extending the lever and making things heavier. It's like we were talking about earlier with the Olympic bar. Whenever you extend the lever, you make things harder. So they're both the same weight, but the kettlebell definitely feels a lot heavier as I'm coming up. You can see my arm shaking slightly as I bring it forward. So it's a big difference between the kettlebell and the dumbbell.
That's because your left arm's really weak. Just kidding. So let's put this up. Okay. So he's going to hold the kettlebell out in front of his body. You can either interlace your fingers when you're doing, there are a lot of different ways you can actually do this exercise, but either you can use one arm, even if you wanted to, but Jesse's going to demonstrate with both arms, both hands on it, and he's going to give you a couple of different views. So he really has to pivot. If you look at his feet, how he's pivoting, if he's going to his left, his right foot has to turn in, but each foot is doing a lot of work, and he's generating a lot of power through his hips, and he really has to decelerate that momentum as he rotates to his right or left. And because, again, he's talking about the physics of the kettlebell, how the weight is horizontally displaced more from your body, and the load is far different than a dumbbell, it's a lot more difficult. So, of course, you could do that with a 15-pound dumbbell or even a medicine ball if you wanted to. But using a kettlebell where the weight is displaced from you horizontally, he has to work a lot harder to decelerate the momentum. Now he's going to do it from the side. Really great for your middle back too. This really helps to mobilize his middle back. You can see that how he kind of stumbled there for a minute. Because he's generating so much force, he's got to really decelerate all that, the speed of the kettlebell. You're pretty strong. That's why you were so fast. Good. Questions on that one? Any comments?
No, just, again, it's another one that really makes you work your hips, pivot in your foot like that, and you'll be able to feel, if you're doing the exercise, as you're coming this way, your body's naturally going to want to pivot that foot up. So
it tends to want to over-rotate.
And you will want to over-rotate too, which is where the deceleration part really comes into play.
And your core and your hips really have to work hard on decelerating that. And that's why it's so important with, this is applicable to sport and with athletics, that you have to typically change directions, and usually in a rotational fashion where you have to cut and rotate and turn, all right? That's going to work those muscle groups, all right? So get off the floor, get on your feet, do some of these exercises that make sense, okay? Now we're going to go ahead and do some offset jumps with a body bar. I know we don't have a ton of time left, but I think this is our 10th and final exercise. He's going to use a 24-pound body bar. Maybe scoot up just a little bit, Jesse. Over towards me a little bit. That's good. Better camera angle there. Okay, if you look at the body bar, what he's doing, and you're saying, well, he doesn't have it on his back quite square. And exactly, that's the reason why we're doing this exercise, because he's offsetting the bar. Thus the name, offset jumps. So the bar, the weight is laterally displaced to the left side of his body, all right? So what happens when he's going to jump and rotate here, you're going to see that his body has to stabilize not only in midair when he turns, but also when his feet hit the ground, all right? And usually, typically in sport, you are out of balance oftentimes. So this helps to train those balance muscles that help you perform better on the playing field. And he's just making a 180-degree rotation. Some people that aren't as fit or as capable as Jesse may only be able to turn, say, 90 degrees, a little quarter jump. So go ahead and do a couple of quarter jumps, and that's a little performance tweak that you can make, that if you're not quite as advanced, you can shorten the range of motion. So because he's so fit, go ahead and do another 180 degrees now. Maybe face the wall, that wall, and then turn maybe back towards me a little bit. Good. Okay, so now you're going to get a different angle. And you can see he kind of lost his balance there for a second. just like in athletics, you may get knocked around in basketball, football, baseball, sports like that that oftentimes involve contact. Even in soccer, you're always getting bumped and nudged. I mean, that's common. So you have to react and respond to that. And this is a way to train that.
Absolutely. And it's great because there's always going to be a sport. At some time, you're going to go up into midair and you're going to come in contact with another person or another body. And you're going to lose your balance in midair and you're going to have to catch yourself. And this is a great way to really work being off balance while in the air.
Great. Guys, we're about out of time for today, but if you have questions about what we do here at Body Symmetry, feel free to call. Check out our website at bodysymmetry.com. Again, we're still working on our massive fitness video resource, freefitnessvideos.com. Hopefully it should be done sometime this spring of 2009. So we'll look for that. We'll post information on that periodically on our website, again at bodysymmetry.com. Check out our newsletters. We post those quarterly on our website. They're free. Anybody can go check them out. We write all of our own material. Everything we do here, we do in-house. We don't farm it out. We like to do our own thing here. So again, thanks for joining us on another edition of Personal Health and Fitness. Jesse, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Until next time, I'm your host, Chad Marshak. Hey, Quinn and Riley.